strong-arm Ryan Presley into waiving his no-trade clause so that they could give themselves $8.5 million of payroll relief from his $14 million contract. They also got a Class A pitcher named Juan Bello. Before the proposed trade, they sat around $3 million over the first luxury tax threshold. And if you listen to Chandler Rome, his understanding of Jim Crane is that Crane will only go over the collective balance tax for what is considered a, quote, cherry on top, end quote. Is that going to be Alex Bregman? We will see. It better be something, because the idea that you traded Ryan Presley for just $8.5 million of payroll relief is kind of embarrassing. I think it's a bad look. I think it's a bad look that they clearly shamed him into waiving his no trade clause. I get it. They didn't want him. He's not the same pitcher anymore. But they were the idiots that gave him that contract. One of many contracts that were, let's just be honest, not well thought out. Relievers should not be getting long-term deals. They gave him this long-term deal. They're stuck with him. And now they're forced to trade him, not for anything in return. They're forced to trade him for money. And I am not convinced, Joe, that they are going to use this money, because it seems like they are standing pat with this Alex Bregman deal. So ultimately, I look at this as the Astros shaming a guy who was a key part of their 2022 World Series and this entire run into taking a job where he doesn't want to go with the promise he's going to be closer so that they could save $8.5 million. I just think it's lame.
I totally agree. If the Bregman deal comes after this, love it. Fine with it. Makes total sense. You're going to go over the luxury tax. But again, they didn't have to trade Ryan Presley to sign Alex Bregman.
No, they didn't.
They did not have to. They could have traded Christian Vasquez. They could have traded one of the outfielders, two of the outfielders. There's other players they could have traded, other things they could have done. But they didn't want Ryan Presley on the team, A. And then B, they wanted to move on from that contract and get anything they could in return. So that's why this idea that Presley traded equals Bregman signed, I don't believe it. Like, I'm with you. I will believe it when I see it. And it does feel like it feels like it's going to happen for me. I do think they're going to find a way to get this done, because if they weren't going to, I think they would have just sat on Presley. I guess that's being hopeful that there's logic there, because if it is really just a salary dump, I don't like the deal. I don't like the deal for the Astros, because yes, Ryan Presley was not the guy he was the 2 years prior, and there are a lot of advanced analytics and nerdy numbers that tell you he's starting to head down a path that is not good. But your bullpen is weaker now. Like, you have to replace that arm logically. Like, who is going to pitch in the sixth inning? Like, are you betting on Forrest Whitley? Are you betting on these guys who are never going to be healthy to strengthen your rotation? So if Bregman comes, I'm totally good with it. But I don't really believe it's happening. I would like it to. I like to believe it's happening, but I have to like see it happen first before I can really say this is a good trade for the Astros.
It's just not a good trade. Like, there's no way it ever is a good trade, in my opinion. You didn't get anything for him. You got $8.5 million.
But the way he pitched last year, I think that's to be expected.
Yeah, but I mean, didn't we say going into the offseason that you might be able to get like actually something decent in return for him? And, and now, you got dick for him.
I thought worst case, like, it would be a salary dump. Like, when the Kyle Tucker rumors were heating up, my original thought was that Kyle Tucker and Presley at the time would go to the Cubs. And if the Astros could, suck it up and get over Cody Bellinger and what he said, he would come back to the Astros, but that would cost you an extra $6 million. So, like, they clearly don't want to do that. And this is Jim Crane's philosophy. I mean, last year it was the same thing. It was a quiet offseason. They didn't do anything. And then he said he would go all in and go over the luxury tax for Josh Hader. He did this, 2019 when they traded for Zach Greinke? They went over the luxury tax then. Now, he got a lucky break and didn't have to pay it then because of COVID and because of what happened to the next baseball season. But he has shown he will do it for certain players. If it's not Alex Bregman, that player does not exist.
Yeah, I doubt he would do it for anyone else.
Exactly.
And I look at this deal, and I really just think it makes the Astros look bad for giving Presley that deal. And I see a couple of people saying, "Hey, like, you had to move on from him." Sure, you gave him a no trade clause, and you shamed him into waiving it. Like, let's not get it twisted. There's no way that Bob Nightingale, who is Jim Crane's, mouthpiece essentially, is going to over all of Friday and all of Thursday and all of Saturday too, just talk about how if Presley waives his no trade clause, the Astros will have significantly more money to spend. Significantly more. And he just kept on doing it over and over and over again. And I think it looks bad. And ultimately, you're just doing it for $8.5 million. $14 million contract. You're barely getting half of this paid.
Honestly, I thought they were going to pay more. Like I thought it was going to be closer to like actually half.
Yeah, when I saw it was less than half, I was like, oh, okay, there we go. But yeah, what this is Rafael Montero and Jose Abreu. That's why this trade happened.
Yeah,
right. I mean, this deal is a James Click deal, but it's a dumb deal. Like, don't give a reliever a long-term contract. Like the Josh Hader one, like, good luck with that one in a couple of years, especially with, I don't know how Josh Hader has looked in certain situations in his first year in this contract. Just a thought. You put yourself in that situation because of poor management, because of a contract that to me just doesn't make sense. You were paying for what he had done, but like, you got to think about this long term, and then giving him a no trade clause on top of that. Like, why? Good job by Presley's agent, and ultimately, because of Presley's agent being able to do that, like you got strong armed essentially into getting nothing for a guy who, okay, like he's decent.
yeah. I mean, I like the deal from the other side. Like the upside of it, you're paying a guy $8.5 million, and if it doesn't go well, you'll cut him and he'll come back to Houston, just like Hector Neris did the last time the Cubs signed one of the former Astros pitchers. But like, they got rid of the money, but you got to use it now. Like if you're going to use it, like if this is a money saving move, then use it. And so at a minimum, if you don't get Bregman, sign an $8 million outfielder, because your outfield still sucks. I mean, your outfield's terrible. And Jose Altuve, who's in left field 30 minutes ago, practicing apparently at Minute Maid Park, if he's not your left fielder, then you have to sign someone. And Santander's contract was too much, and you missed out on him, and you missed out on Profar. And I didn't like his contract either. He ended up getting, but like, go spend the money, because you still have a huge problem in the outfield. And if you're going to make this move to save money, you can add someone without going over the luxury tax now. You can find a $7 million outfielder and just come under the number. If that's really how you want to operate,
But
then do it. They probably won't.
I'm not even.
That's probably more like deadline move, if anything. But
I'm not convinced they'll do it with Bregman. I mean, if you were going to actually change the amount of money that you were offering Bregman, then this is when you would have done it right away, right now. And okay, I guess there's more optimism about a potential return of Bregman at this moment in time, but ultimately, like I just look at this entire week of trying to force Ryan Presley to waive his no trade clause, and I think it's an embarrassing look for the Astros. I think it's embarrassing. And okay, congratulations on the $8.5 million you have to work with. But as you said, yeah, like what are you doing in the outfield? Like, are you really going to move Altuve to left field? Are you really going to do that? Like, okay, man, cool. He's out there practicing in left field. It's one thing to practice out there, but we've seen guys practice at other positions in spring training before. Do they actually do it during the regular season? Generally not. So we will see what happens on that front. But I am not sold on the idea that you trading Ryan Presley for like half of his salaries, over half of his contract being relieved off your books, and getting Juan Bello, who I hope is good. Probably not. Like,
I mean, he's 20. Like, we'll see him in 4 years
at best. Right. I mean, you might trade him again. Like, ultimately, it just looked bad. It just looked bad. The guy, if the guy's one of your key pieces, he helped save Hunter Brown last year with the conversation he had with him on a plane. So that's how I'm looking at it.